Hello and welcome to another episode of Played with Meg and Mike, where we analyze and Survivor Hamilton and talk to the people who most recently got voted out. And today we are fortunate enough to be joined by one of the kind of the strongest players in the game, Ruth.
Ruth. You got a boy band send off. I don't know if that was supposed to be shady, but it's actually kind of like the highest kind of compliment that you can give to Ruth.
Yeah, I'm pretty much a boy band queen here, so that was pretty cute.
You're referencing Kyle. Yeah, Kyle playing the audio at the end there. The bye, bye, bye.
Yeah. Actually, Mike, could you read what I sent you when you asked whether or not I wanted to play my idol?
Of course. That was a huge, and I'll just say that was a huge surprise. So you want to confirm then?
Yeah, I won.
What happened on Friday?
I've won multiple idols throughout this game now, with the help of Sasha too, and I also helped Sasha win hers. So I think these last two were team efforts, but it's really funny to that I had sort of like a, I don't know, reputation of like not being a good player when kept winning.
I don't know if you had that reputation.
Yeah, maybe it's in my head, but I've definitely been called names.
Well, and we should get to that. But you heard the saying, "They hate us because they ain't us."
Oh yeah. No,
I think that applies to you. I call my dad out. Oh yeah, Jim says that kind of stuff, and I remind him what happened to his game. So you said after winning the idol, and I asked if you were going to play the idol tonight. You said, "If I die, it'll be a relief."
Yeah.
First. And then you said, "I'm hoping I'm safe. Brian and I came to an agreement."
I didn't read that part.
I'm sorry, Brian.
You can. Brian, he's been one of the only people in this game that has been nice to me. So, I'm really grateful for that, and the fact that, lots of, like I said, Jim's not alone, and I get why Jim is called names and stuff, but just last night, the rant that Kyle went on was pretty vile. So that was, how many times have I threatened to quit, Meg?
Yeah. It seems like a lifetime ago, but we had those conversations pretty seriously. And Meg, you probably got some of those messages from Ruth as well.
Oh yeah, last night too. I didn't bring it to you because I thought that it would drive you crazy. But my dear friend Meg sort of got a bit of that.
I don't know what happened yesterday.
I think I can sort of piece together, but I don't want to name names in case I'm wrong. But Kyle somehow heard that I was up to strategizing, but he didn't like the way that I was strategizing, which is odd because on Wednesday he was like, we're thick as thieves, he gave me a call and stuff, and he talked about how he has a reputation as a villain, but he's not really that way, and people have told me that this guy's a bomb waiting to set off, and he had been nice to me so far, so I was cautious, but I just sort of took his word for it. And then last night when I won the idol, I spoke to Kyle and told him hey buddy, if they try to get you, you're not going home. And he went off, called me a basket case, said he hated the way I strategized. I had no idea why. And so I was like, all right, peace. I'm going back to the person who was nice to me. I do not like this. And so I just decided to go back and start talking to Brian and let him know what happened. And yeah.
And I'm really sorry that you have gone through that yesterday and then have gone through that in the game. I know that name calling in any scenario isn't good. It's childish and it's not warranted in any adult conversation. But it's even worse, I think, when it's to a stranger, to somebody who doesn't know as many people in the game, and also is outnumbered, you know, as a female in the game as well, which has been a standard thing in this game. Women, sorry.
Yeah, it always, I always had to talk myself out of it feeling, I don't know, targeted, but or misogynistic or anything like that. But really hard to talk yourself out.
Yeah, and you know, not to explain it away, because I'm not trying to do that at all, but some of these folks have played this game or versions of this game a long time and know each other all so well that like there's just the general way of communicating with people isn't as respectful as it could be. But that's with people who know each other and can kind of give each other the benefit of the doubt. And I think just throughout the game, I know I've had to remind people, and maybe not enough, to just watch what you're saying to people, right? And like, you wouldn't say things like that to people's faces, and you shouldn't say it on a text message either. And so we can talk more about that, absolutely. If you want, we can talk about the game, like whatever. It's your time and Meg's time as well. So you guys are friends outside the game. Obviously, Meg suggested or told you that you would enjoy the game and to play. So yeah. Go back to that.
She like my good friends that I've even, like, including Meg and people that I've talked to outside of the game, when I decided to sign up, they knew that it would be a mistake for me because I am so sensitive. So I was definitely given a lot of warnings. I would, like, Meg didn't pressure me at all. She knows.
Yeah. But you know, the reason why I thought you would be good at the game is because you are such a like sharp and critical thinker, and you are like the funniest, you have the funniest online presence of anyone I'd ever met in my entire life. And I just thought those things would transfer really nicely into the game. And I hope that you did have a chance to make some good connections, and you know, you and Sasha got to you know, have a survivor bond.
Yeah.
You mentioned the social media, Meg. Ruth, one thing that you were doing was sharing videos, not with anyone else who's in the game, but Meg convinced you to let me see them, where you were kind of whiteboarding out with the almost like the pieces of strings and the names on sticky notes. Did you keep that up, or was that just an early game thing?
You know what? It was the early game thing, and I was going to do it for the merge, but my board right now, I don't know if you can see it, there's some like clothes sort of hanging on them. So I just like, I don't know. I probably should have to keep track, but because so few people were even speaking to me and there were so many more lies this time around, it was really hard to keep track of who was lying to me, or like what was even true. It's different from Navala, because there were more strangers on Navala. Yeah.
Mm.
So what did you think was what was your plan for tonight? Who did we think was going to go home?
I wasn't sure. I was afraid Brian might go home. And I don't know. Yeah, like I don't know. I'm always afraid that the people I like in the game are going home, including myself. So.
Well, you had 5 votes against, but Kyle had 4. Sharon had 3. So obviously there was a lot of.
Kyle would go home. That's who I was hoping would go home.
So he didn't. Though, if you can get one positive thing, even though it's not really going to be that positive for you, but for everybody else, is Kyle didn't have to use that idol because you had 1 more vote than him anyway. So he wasted it.
Oh, good.
One thing I saw, the one video I think I did see you share after the merge was you trying to convince basically Chris and Kyle to work together, right? Whereas like you figured you, Kyle, and Sharon would work together. There was the 4 of them. That makes 7 of you versus the 6, Brian and the family. So what was it like trying to get 2 Pittmans to work together who had just got into a giant fight with each other?
Yeah, that was part of the plan until Kyle lashed out at me. And so I
just don't understand the lashing out still. I don't understand where that came from and why.
I don't know. I don't want to blame anybody, but I was definitely given some like misinformation, like unnecessarily, really. Because it wasn't like I was trying to go against Kyle. Like I was trying to help him because I figured that if, like you said, if like me, Kyle, and Sharon work together, and I could get Kyle and Chris to work together. But like Kyle was saying that he was angry at Chris, and Chris was saying that he was angry at Kyle. So I was trying to figure out a way to get them to work together, and that for some reason.
Do you think they're fighting outside of the game? Do you think this Survivor Hamilton causes like real family discord for them?
I hope so.
It does. I can confirm it does.
Well,
and actually, Kyle and I actually spoke yesterday about, because he was talking about kind of everything he was working on, and he actually shared some of the texts with you, even the one in particular. And we did talk about it last night about just how he even, at least with me, recognized even himself that it was like he had gone too far, at least with the one message at least, and said he was going to apologize, and that it wasn't, it was in the heat of the moment or whatever. I'm not trying to take, I'm just saying we talked about it, and we identified together as well that it was like, come on, dude. And he felt, kind of, I don't know if ashamed is the right word, but that it wasn't right and wasn't representative of who he wants to be.
That guy really did not show much shame today with that send off. That's another tally on the cocky Pittman tally that we'll have in played.
Yeah, I'll save a couple things. I'll say it to you privately. I know that's
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Understood. Yeah. I was just trying to say that Kyle, because he's going to listen to this, obviously, and we did have a discussion about it, but maybe there's probably room to just,
well,
further
that just
learn
really
from that.
Sucks though, because it's a rough note for Ruth to leave the game on, and it just really, I feel like it's, yes, there's lying in the game, and yes, there's paranoia in the game, but we're all grown-ups, and like we don't really need to go out of our way to make other people feel like shit because we're playing this stupid game. So maybe just rein it in.
I showed it to my roommate and her boyfriend, and they both warned me not to play the game. And like we laughed about it in the beginning, but it's been like 2 months now, and their comments were just like, "Why are you still putting up with this?"
Yeah.
And that's why I didn't mind if I went home or not. It kind of sucks that I didn't get to use the idol to help save someone, because again, like I personally wouldn't care if I went home, and I don't care, but it would be nice to use that idol to like save a friend. That's like how I used the idol the first time when I was like scared that John was going home. But yeah.
And one thing I'll say too is I think a lot of in this game, when people make a plan and then they think their plan is set in stone, and then other people message them, right? People often want to say like, I'm not talking anymore, like I'm done, right? And there's there's nice ways to say, I don't want to talk strategy with you anymore. And that would be like, I'm sorry, I've figured it out, and I don't want to waste your time, right? You can do that without belittling somebody for taking your time because you've all signed up to play a game. And if someone's messaging you about the game, that's pretty open. That's a pretty fair reason for them to be messaging you.
Yeah.
Mike, maybe you need there to be like a tribal safe word that when the conversation is done, we drop the safe word and then we're done. And if you feel like you're going to turn into a nasty monster and you need to put yourself in a timeout, then maybe you should do that.
Sure, for sure. And I think I've just heard that kind of concept of like, well, they were just bugging me, you know what I mean? As like an excuse for brushing people off in a rude manner. Well, it's like, what are they supposed to be doing? It's a game. They think they're in danger and they're trying to get further in the game and get you further in the game in some cases. And so it's just kind of ridiculous to me in general.
Mike,
but we've
did you
talked about it a couple
decide if
times.
the jury member are allowed to be in Exile Island, or is it still just poor Chelsea alone in a WhatsApp group by herself?
Well, it'll be Chelsea and Ruth now, which will be nice for Ruth because you don't want to go to Exile Island, man. There's a bunch of bitter people over there.
I mean, and that also confuses me too because the game, like, it's about, you know, siding with people and, you know, trying to do it in the most respectful way possible is like how I've been trying to play the game. But like the thing that happened on the Nepal that the people in Exile Island are upset about is so ridiculous. Like they're really just mad at themselves. So like it does, like, as much as I like think it's rude and stuff, I kind of just feel sorry for them. That's
good.
a little that, but the thing, I think they're mad that I told them all the stuff that Wayne's saying. I showed them with screenshots. And
are we talking about week 1?
No, it's week 2, I think. No, 3. Yeah. But what happened was, I mean, it's carrying on till today, though. They're still mad about it and saying stuff about me. And what happened during that time was there was a group of us that were misled and based off of a lie, and that was from Wayne. And so what I did was talk to like a bunch of the people that were misled and talk to whoever I could about like how we were misled, and that included like the Hamilton family members. Yeah, so Jim and April and Ian, and I don't think we sent a text message to Ian. I don't remember because Tim and I hadn't even like spoken at all until that point. But I had shown them the stuff that was being said about the Hamilton family, and was sort of like, make your choice kind of thing. Like, this is what people are saying. Like, and they chose to vote off Wayne because of the stuff he was saying, and assumed that I would be working with them because they did that. And it's like, well, they, you know, cut loose someone who was untrustworthy to them. That doesn't mean that they gained somebody who, like, had previously been against them, like whatever. Like, I don't.
Right.
Yeah. So and I also never promised that I would work with them. They was constantly showing the people on Navala that I was working with, like screenshots of conversations that I've had with Hamilton to make sure that they believed that I hadn't been saying these things. In Ian's exit video, he said that I was promising to work with him. So I actually sent a screen video of our entire conversation, and there was nothing missing from that conversation. And I like sent it to them. I was like, I barely talked to Ian in the game, so for him to say that stuff was, I don't know, that was weird.
At least he's not sending edited, or you're not sending edited versions of screenshots around, which is apparently part of the game now. I wonder what the screenshot haters would think of that development.
Yeah, I wonder if that's what happened with the Kyle thing. I don't know. I honestly, I don't know. That was so weird.
A huge part of the real game of Survivor is taking people's words and using them against them. Like that's like the crux of what every strong, good player in the game does to turn people against each other, right? And as far as I'm concerned, that's all you were doing, is turning some people against Wayne, right? And then also turning some people against the flippers, who were Jim, April, and Ian. Or did they? Even do that themselves? Like the Andres and the Daves and the Sharids and stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, like Dave, Sharid, and Mariska, we like those three plus me were in a group with Wayne. And once Wayne was eliminated, those three were they had to choose where to go. Where
Free
they
agent. Yeah.
Side with the people who weren't in the Hamilton family, or were they like the majority or not? And so that was pretty easy.
Ruth, are there any moves that you regret making in the game besides maybe entering it?
I regret ever speaking to Kyle. I mean, he called me. I actually didn't text him first or anything, because he has such a bad reputation, and just the both of the Pittmans do, and so I engaged a bit with Chris, but I mean, he lied to me a bunch, and then I answered a phone call from Kyle. That's how I got sucked into this.
I do want to talk a little bit more about the vote that just happened, but I want to just say I think that, you know, if I had awards, and maybe I will at the end of the season or something, but I think for the first month, which was the first 8 votes, you were the MVP of that part of the game, right? Of OG Navala, you basically came out on top, and obviously you had your allies, like you had Sasha, you had people like Sharon as well. What was your favorite part of that portion of the game?
Of the first portion?
Yeah.
Ooh. When Damien was kicked off. Just because poor guy. I mean, because he was one of the first people who was actively saying nasty things about me, and people came to me letting me know the stuff that he was saying, and they didn't like the way that he was playing, and so it wasn't hard to convince anyone to vote for Damien. And he was also so cocky, so like when he was voted off, he was so shocked, and it wasn't that felt pretty good. Videos about that.
Would you like to speak at all about the phone bombing challenge incident?
Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah. I forgot.
Game spiral about that. Because
now, see, based on that move alone, that will be okay. That's my follow-up question. Okay, that move I think is what kind of maybe cemented you as a villain in the game. And after you talk about it, I would like to hear your thoughts on this villain status.
Yeah, so I mean, I sent a bunch of messages to people in Ulu, not necessarily admitting that it was me, but sort of showing my narrative arc. And that was pretty funny. And it kind of just became like, from the beginning, people were saying that I was the villain and saying all these awful things about me. And once I saw my friend was in danger, I was sort of like, screw it. Like, this is the plan. I'm already the villain. Let me, like, I regret involving John in it, because I hope that people didn't think that he knew anything about it, because he did not. I also didn't think that it was against the rules. Like, I just figured that it was another form of like strategy and like picking on each other, especially since
I would say it's definitely, if not
I mean, well, yeah,
the gray area. I think
I
it's funny, but if it happened to me, I would have been really mad.
Yeah, I definitely expected Graham to be upset, and like I don't like to make people upset, but I didn't expect you to be upset, Mike. I thought it was just like another part of
smart.
Yeah, and so then when it went to turn into this like witch hunt thing, I was like, oh god, like what happened? But I mean, I went to you privately and told you what happened. I have too much pride to like be shamed like that. But I also am a terrible liar. So I had to know.
I actually think it's sort of honorable that you did it for somebody else. That's a good friend. That's a good ally.
I'm a good friend and a good ally.
I think it's good. I think so. And just to speak on that for a moment, you know, you always know you're playing the game really hard when you create new rules, or when you uncover gray areas that I hadn't previously even considered, right? And I had never considered that, right? and I think the one thing I try and talk about the most in the game is just I am trying to make everything as fair as possible. So like if I may send it I might put it on the website, or I might send you an email, and you're not going to know which one's which, but at least everybody doesn't know which one's which, and everybody's going to get that at the same time, and everybody's going to have an even chance to answer it. And so when I saw that one player, and yes, it's my brother, and I can understand that it can seem maybe there's bias there as well. But if one player just doesn't have that even chance, the same as the other players do, then that's gonna be a flag for me as something that is like, well, then it wasn't really a fair competition. And I think that also came on the heels of like a bunch of other annoying stuff from other challenges as well. And it was just for me, I was really frustrated because it was like every time something happens that I don't expect, it adds like 2 or 3 hours of stress to my day because I don't handle those things the right way. And you mentioned witch hunt, and that's a perfect example of me messaging people, trying to get somebody in front of everybody to volunteer that it was them when I knew it was you. You know what I mean? And we should have just had a conversation about it. Yeah, it was obvious, right? And
I have to say, for the just objectivity's sake, I was kept totally in the dark. I did not know what was happening until it already happened.
That was another thing. I once it turned into a thing where it was against the rules, and Meg messaged Sasha and I like, "What did you guys do?" I can't keep up that. I would have it in me to be like, "No, Meg, it wasn't me." Like, no.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, if you fucking lied to me over Survivor Hamilton.
But
when I was a little kid, I in 4th grade, I got in trouble for forging my mom's signature on a slip from my teacher or something, because I had run off school property when I went home for lunch. I was barely on school property, but I went back off. And anyways, I forged my mom's signature just to avoid drama, and I got in so much trouble for that when I was little that I can't keep up with any type of lie like that. It's just so much easier to if I've ever done anything wrong, if I've ever feared getting in trouble by my parents, I always just told them what happened, and it's just easier that way. Yeah.
And then Meg also asked about how does it feel to be labeled a villain?
I mean,
or even if it's by yourself, even if you've labeled it yourself that way.
Yeah, when it was happening to me from other members, I mean, yeah, I'm sensitive, but I know that it's not real life, and would play it up, whether it was on Twitter or Instagram, or talking to my family and friends about it. It's really funny that I'm the villain. because I'm not in real life. Like quite the opposite. But
I have to say, I was continually shocked. The thing that I forgot is that you are a Scorpio, and so I forget, and like, because we are such good friends, there's never been a situation where you've needed to get vengeance against me, but I forgot that you do have a vengeance button.
I'm actually very forgiving too. I had a long conversation about that last night actually, but when I started to think I was the villain, like after the Graham thing, and I started to like feel like shame about it. And you know, when I saw that, like, oh yeah, I guess I was interfering and making it unfair, and I guess this isn't part of the rules or whatever, like, because it was so easy to convince myself that it was just part of the game. And so when I saw like how awful that was, that's when I got really upset at like whether or not this game was changing me as a person or like revealing like deep darkness in me or something. So, yeah.
Right. Well, and talking to you now, it doesn't seem like that at all. You know what I mean? Like, it seems like there was obviously some really intense moments, but I believe that you, at least the things that were in your control, you kind of viewed them as playing a game. Right. And the only things that have probably gone beyond that are some of the things that have been out of your control, like how people have communicated. And I think there's been a lot of groupthink as well. It's easy for people who are already in a group to all agree with each other and decide that somebody else is wrong. It's easier to do that than it is to look in the mirror. And I think we've seen a lot of that in this game, and you see that in probably any group activity to some degree.
Yeah, but that it kind of reminds me how I felt when we talked to Amanda. Just like, quit being so typical, you guys. Like, there's other ways to think, and this is an opportunity for you guys to challenge your bias and think about why you're making the decisions or taking the tones that you are, and like on a game level and beyond. But on a game level, like, stop being so typical. Have some fun. I think.
I agree. Yeah. I think it's also one of the, like, I think it, because people do know each other, right? Like, if it was like on Survivor, like the show where they all don't know each other, people are more willing to like make those kinds of risks and stuff. But here, people have like friends and family, and it's harder to be risky and turn your back on them because, like you said about Chris and Kyle, like, if they're fighting in real life, you don't really want that with a friend, right? Like, with family, it's a bit different. Like, you can, patch things up. You'll see each other for life. But with a friend, you don't want to lose a friend over Survivor.
Yeah, you'd feel pretty stupid if someone was like, "Hey, what happened to you and your friend?" Be like, "Well, we were in an online Survivor game and we got in a big fight, and now we're not friends anymore."
We were friends for a whole life, and then we met Mike Hamilton.
Well, that also goes back to what they were saying in Tribal Council today, which is that it's really all Mike's fault.
And I don't disagree. I sometimes look at all the stuff I'm doing and all the hours I'm spending, and I think it's my fault too. So
we appreciate you, Mike, though.
We do.
Well, thank you. From the point when you voted Ian out, and then there was the tribe swap, do you feel like your hands were pretty tied from that point on? Like, your kind of game ended almost at that point, or what do you think?
Yeah. Pretty much. I mean, I feel like my game ended once Uru was able to convince Shareed that
once they got Shareed on their side.
Yeah, like, it was really confusing. I didn't see that coming. And I mean, he did tell me in the group chat, like, right before the video started, but after the voting had closed. And all I could say to him was, like, I wish you spoke to me first. Like, and when I heard his reasoning, it didn't make sense to me because he was in the group chat where we were talking about it. So,
Yeah, and I think that was completely self-preservation on Sharid's move. Obviously, it didn't work because they didn't trust him and they voted him out anyway. But he, obviously knowing that he had Dave on Kobara, I think everything that he did was just trying to get to a point where he was going to get to play with Dave again.
Yeah.
Right? You guys didn't matter to him. It was about getting to the merge and being reunited with Dave. But that certainly spelled kind of the end. But I know you worked really hard on Paul and Meg. Did you help with that at all?
No, I don't really feel like I'm supposed to do that. So I didn't, but I did text him after and let him know I thought I was a dick.
Like now after the Sasha? Like or after when?
After Sasha. But I'll do it again. I love
Was
Paul.
that, and that
but
was that was
he's
kind of,
not
you felt like
allowed
that was
to
your
come to
only
my future parties. He's just gotten himself a blacklist from the pool party from Sasha, unfortunately for him.
And that's not a blacklist you want. You want to be at that one. So Ruth, who that's left in the game do you feel like is playing a good game and deserves some recognition for that, or do you hope kind of gets to the end?
I'm looking at that sheet right now. There's a lot of good players, and
pick one or two though.
Okay. Sharon's a really great player. Although there's also April's really great too. I mean, I really like former Ulu or Ulu, whatever. I mean, it's funny that Dave's like across the pond and he made it this far. That's impressive.
With the fresh baby.
Yeah.
Do you remember when Dave messed up the one challenge and you and Sasha were giving him a really hard time?
You gave him so hard.
No challenges, Mike. Everyone keeps saying one, but he messed up 2 challenges.
That's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I hope he knows I was just sort of ribbing him. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. You're talking about game stuff, right? At that point, and that's completely fine. I give him a hard time on almost every post about stuff like that. I just remember that was something that I thought was so funny. He didn't appreciate it. So.
Well, what are you gonna do? He's still in the game. He's fine. Ruth, who do you want to get voted out next?
Kyle. And then
Chris. Hearing a lot about hearing that name keeps coming up.
Both of them.
I won't say that. I want Kyle off and Chris for lying. I hope that whoever originally voted for Kyle sticks together.
Do you have any guesses for how the votes went? Like which groups of people voted together? Because there was obviously votes for you, Sharon, Kyle, and then one for Peter, obviously.
I mean, I hoped Sharon voted for Peter, and that was like her way of not voting for me or Kyle. That's sort of what I did last round when I didn't want to vote for Brian and I didn't know who the other person was. So I was on the phone with Kyle and I told him before I voted for him that, listen, my vote's not going to count, so I'm going to vote for you. Is that okay? And he said, yeah. So I was like, all right, well, that's how I'm going to go. I mean, there's a few people who know where never mind.
If one of your friends was to play the game next time, are you able to kind of think of any advice that you would give another player, or if you were to go back in time and give yourself advice?
I have been getting people asking me, like, how do I play this game? I want to play this game. And out of all of them, like, I kind of just tell them all, actually, that this game is way more time consuming than you think it is. There's no way that I'd be able to play this game if I I mean, I'm job hunting right now. Like, I don't know how people have jobs or like families and infants and stuff and playing this game because it takes up so much of my time. But there's also my brother wants to play this game, and I keep telling him how awful it is and how badly I can play it. But he loves Survivor. He was so excited when he heard that there was this game. He asks me like so regularly, like, what's going on? He was so proud of me that I won the idol, and I've
Two
saved
idols.
the game for the
Two idols.
Yeah. And I've stayed in the game for the people who were cheering me on, but like I said earlier, I've been trying to quit for a long time.
Yeah, that's true. I have a question, and that is, who is your favorite member of NSYNC?
Definitely not Justin Timberlake because of what he did to Jessica Simpson. What he and Ryan Gosling did to Jessica Simpson. And what he obviously did to Britney Spears, but whatever. Favorite member? I'd say JC.
JC?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I'd say JC too.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever? Okay, well, I'm gonna send a video around of him. He does a cover of a song called, and it's called "All Night Long I Dream About Sex," and it looks like it's filmed in an all white, like in a Gap ad, and it's just the worst shit ever, and it makes me cringe so hard. I think the right answer for me is Joey Fatone.
Oh, that's true. Actually, I forgot.
I went back and looked at some watched some music videos, and like boy bands are like marketed to children, so a child is not going to find Joey Fatone like interesting at all. No. But as an adult, like looking back, I'm like, oh, he's not that bad.
No, it's same with Kevin Richardson from the BSB.
Yeah, but
just a calm dad. We love him.
It is very creepy though that they are marketed to children and you like pick which one that like we want to marry and stuff.
Well, I don't think it's gonna work out with Lance and I as I had planned, but
you just figuring that out now?
No, I don't know. Another hard question for Ruth, because you are a culture queen. What is the top best thing that you watched in this quarantine period, or read or listened to?
I caught up on Search Party.
I tried to watch that. I couldn't find any good links for it. But if it's working, I'll do it.
I'll send you my, I have them all downloaded because they're not airing them on HBO, even though they're on HBO Max in the States. But
Search Party, that's the one.
Oh yeah, I heard about that show.
It's really, really good. It's
John Early, Alicia Shawkat.
It's a mystery and a comedy. So every episode, keeps you wanting more, and you're laughing along the way.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did we miss any opportunities to talk shit? Did you want anything else you want to leave with the class?
I'd like to say that, or like reiterate that as one of the people who, I mean, there's me, like, I'd like to reiterate the point that like I've made it pretty far for not knowing many people, and like I have grown closer to Sasha through this game. But in reality, I've only I've gone to her house twice for the pool parties, and we've hung out a couple of times. So this game has brought us closer together. But I think that pretty much every other player has had a lot, or at least for sure, everyone who's left has had much closer ties with the people in the game. So I'm pretty proud. I think that if I was on Real Survivor, I would, I do really well.
I think you would probably do very, very well on Real Survivor.
Yeah.
I think so as well.
But I don't want you to do it at all.
Oh, I never will. No, one of your questions on that survey was like if you have to travel to a country for 30 days, like by yourself, where would you go? And like my original answer was going to be like, oh, I don't know, like New York. I don't want to do anything like in the wild or on a wild island or anything. So I was like, the
UK.
I picked the UK because I was like English there, and I could like make my own way. And they have a lot of vegetarian restaurants because Paul McCartney. And so
exactly,
I could like other places I wouldn't like I wouldn't do it. I mean I do eat fish, so I could like fish or whatever, but I'm not outdoorsy. That stuff is kind of gross. So
well, we'll see next season. Next time they're casting, Ruth, we can talk about it. We can do a pros and cons.
Well, you're going to the jury now with Chelsea. What are you looking for from the players still in the game to earn your vote in the end?
Oh, I mean, there's not much more certain people can do. Like, I absolutely won't vote for certain people.
But just in general, like, who do you think, what type of player, who do you think what do you think the best player will have, what types of things will they have accomplished, or how will they play the game?
That's hard. I guess someone who just wins challenges but also balances it, and maybe, or you know what, someone who's giving and like passes their idol to someone else. I think that's pretty kind, and I'll like give points for that. But
so Chris Pittman has a head start.
No.
I think you look for an integrity player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And well-rounded, it sounds like, as well. Like somebody who's kind of...
Yeah, I guess that's it. Well-rounded. And I mean, I did have a rough time with April for a while, but her and I had reconciled like a while ago. So I don't want her to think like she's not going to get my vote. That's not true. Yeah.
Well, that's nice to say. Well, thank you. And I'm super glad. That was really kind of awkward probably for everybody. And I'm super glad that you guys were able to sort that out. No need to really delve into that anymore.
Oh, yeah,
but old news. Cool. Well, enjoy. I'm so glad that you're going to get to at least kind of enjoy the game from afar, but not have to be into it as much yourself. Give yourself the brain space back. Anything that you want to say or mention before we go?
No, I'm pretty relieved.
That's the common thing. We talked about that. Is there's a sense of relief, and that kicks in even greater on like Monday at 5. When you don't have to compete in a challenge. Because you did, actually, another thing, you are the only one who competed in every challenge up to this point.
Oh, yeah, I've never had
I didn't mention that.
Off. Yeah, I think Chelsea pointed that out to me. And because once you hit merge, there's no nights off.
I mean, you don't have to do them if you don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, or you're busy or whatever, but I mean, what else?
Sure, but up until the merge, you were the only one, you know what I mean? You had competed in every single one, never sat out, and that's pretty impressive as well.
Well, Ruth, I think you played a really good game.
Thanks.
I agree. Looking forward to chatting with you just in the jury and stuff like that, but letting you slowly forget about the game a little bit more every day and get back into normal life.
And you know what, Graham? We might just call you over and over again just for fun.
5 to 9 p.m.
That's a really nice text message while we were talking. So no hard feelings, Graham.
Good.
And I did help bring Graham back. That's another thing. So I'm happy.
Cool. Awesome. So, what'd you say?
No, I said, so leave me alone, Jim.
Well, on that note,
secures your invite to the Hamilton family reunion. Can't wait. See you all there.
well, I don't know if we need to get to phase 3 or not before we can confirm this barbecue, but hopefully we can still do it in a month or so, and everybody can realize we're all just human beings and we're all just nice people, and it's only a game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, cool.
All right.
Okay. Have a great rest of the weekend. Thanks for doing this, Ruth.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Love you, Ruth.
Bye, everybody.